Welcome to the Backpacking and Blisters podcast, brought to you by Enlightened Equipment, the one place you won't make a mistake when you buy their ultralight gear at enlightenedequipment.com. With you today is a man of many mistakes, Ben McCall. How's it going, man?
It's going good. Just got back from a road trip. So I had a question to ask you. What's your top 2 favorite road trip snacks?
Road trip snacks?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you're doing a
I'm
road
not
trip.
great about eating healthy on the road. Are you?
Oh, no. That's what I'm asking. Like mine is Chex Mix. Like I have to have Chex Mix.
Yeah.
And then it floats between a candy bar, Twix, or Reese's.
Okay.
So those would be my 2.
I mean, I
about you?
like exploring new gas stations and seeing what they have to offer. So I'll kind of mix it up and see what they got. But if my one go-to is like Red Vines. That's kind of my Achilles heel. Yeah.
Do you use them as a straw?
Sometimes. Yeah. Or to breathe through. It's kind of fun.
we stopped at what is it, the Tillamook beef place, I guess. They have an outlet center, and my son got a 2-foot long beef stick, and so it was fun to share that with him while I was driving. He had one side, I had the other, and we just kind of were bunching out together.
That's so gross. Oh my gosh, I would not do that. That's so disgusting. Okay. And that's why we started our podcast. Welcome to the show, everybody. We got tips and tales with grossness today. So thanks to Ben for that.
Yeah.
All right. Perfect. So, man, we got Kraig Adams on. I think he's the #1 seed as far as like backpacking filmmakers. Am I wrong on that?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what he says. Are you going to ask him? Is he the #1 or?
No, I don't ask. I just tell them. We don't ask that question. Okay, so we're talking about. So he's gone everywhere. I mean, if you look at his films, I mean, he's really a great channel for research if you're trying to find some epic trips to go on. And he's gone literally all over the world and done some amazing backpacking trips. And his videography is just top notch. And so, but in his stories, you don't always see like the behind the scenes stuff or the mistakes that are being made or the encounters that he has. And that's what I want to dig into. Okay, so we're going to talk to Kraig Adams here in a moment. Afterwards, though, we've got 2 big time reviews. Ben, you've got a shoe review for some trail shoes. Yeah.
Yep.
And then I have perhaps the most comfortable, most ridiculously thick sleeping pad that you can bring camping ever coming up. Okay.
Well, I'm excited for that one.
Yeah.
Thick
so that's
and
what we
comfortable.
Got.
It's a mattress, just a regular mattress.
That's right. It's not. Yeah, that's right. I guess you could bring that. That's funny. All right, what you got? Bible verse.
Bible verse of the episode comes from Isaiah 43:18, and we'll throw in 19 there because it goes hand in hand. Forget the former things. Do not dwell on the past. Say, I'm about to do a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? I'm making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland. So I think this is a good one that we just forget. Sometimes we forget the former things, things of the past. So, mistakes, I think, come in where we want to forget them. But do we want to forget them and not learn from them? I think that's the issue. Sometimes we just forget them and we don't learn from them.
No, we want to learn. That's what this podcast is all about. Is all the ways we mess up, and we really appreciate when other people are willing to share their mistakes. And so I appreciate Kraig Adams if he's about to share some of his biggest mistakes that we can learn from. So yeah, that's a good one. I like that. So let's get to it, man. Kraig Adams, here we go. With me today is the #1 backpacking filmmaker in the world, Kraig Adams. How's it going today, man?
Wow. Thank you for that. I don't know if that's true, but I'll take it.
Okay. Well, based on the conversation we just had before we hit record, you're more like the #1 filmmaker who happens to be a backpacker. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's how I would describe it. And as a filmmaker who started hiking a couple of years ago, it's a little different than what the landscape I see on YouTube. I see a lot of hikers who start making videos. So I'm not as knowledgeable and experienced as a lot of those people. I've never hiked like the PCT or the CDT or the ADT. I feel like one of those is like, you're a real hiker. I'm just a guy out there with a camera learning as I go.
Well, I appreciate your humility, but I 100% disagree with that because I've backpacked for decades and I haven't done those trails either. And I still I feel like I know a lot. I don't I'm not saying I'm a through hiker. I'm not saying that I've done as many miles, definitely not in one shot, but I feel like I'm experienced enough to call myself a backpacker, and obviously have a podcast about it. But not being number one, I don't. I mean, when I look at the number of hits you're getting, when I look at the number of subscribers you have, I don't think I'm wrong. Like, is there anybody bigger than you?
People doing way different types of things within the genre for sure. But as far as YouTube, uh, yeah, it's becoming more and more popular to be like a hiking YouTuber, I would say. A
Mhm.
lot of people are adopting the silent hiking um like format that I make my
Right.
videos, but I also kind of stole that from someone else. So everyone
Okay.
everyone just builds upon each other, and there'll definitely be some awesome up and coming, Gen Z or whatever, hiking YouTubers.
Right. Wait. Okay. Who I gotta ask then? Who inspired you, or who did you take from?
Oh, I remember watching this. I think he still makes videos, but Primitive Technology is like some
Okay.
random dude who just makes silent videos, process-based videos of him making clay pots and like fire kilns. He's like in the wilderness of Australia, but all of
Okay.
his videos were just tripod lockdown shots, silent of him doing stuff. So I was like,
Okay.
hey, that would be cool for a hiking video.
So somebody making clay pots in the Australian wilderness inspired the YouTube channel that is yours today. That's amazing.
Yeah. But it was also the perfect storm of that being in my mind, but also a trip to hike in Iceland and my microphone broke. So I was like, my microphone's broken. What type of video am I going to make? Why not just embrace, this issue? And it turned out to
Right.
be like a cool format that I definitely fell into.
Okay. And one nice thing about that is like microphones and just getting good audio, especially with wind or just ambient noise or planes flying over whatever. It's difficult to get. So you're sort of eliminating that problem for the most part.
Yeah, wind is the big issue. If you're hiking in a place that's completely silent, you just crank up the volume and those foot sounds are so crispy. Like I get
Right.
so many Instagram stories and messages from people with their dogs like paying attention to my hiking videos. And I think dogs like kind of freak out when they when it's like stereo, they can hear someone's footsteps going across the room. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, what's that?
So what percentage of your audience is dogs, would you say?
A high percentage. And I love It's fantastic. Anytime anyone shares like their animal, I've got tons of animals watching my videos. That's the type of Instagram story I'll repost instantly to my feed.
Oh, that's hilarious. Okay. I love that. So so if you're trying to capture those ambient sounds like you're talking about the footsteps then, and then you're getting just basically noise wrecking sounds, do you go back and re-record like footsteps on dirt, for example?
I've never recorded any kind of fully. The closest thing I've come to doing for that is like if there's a drone shot, obviously,
Right.
it's muted. Back in the day, you used to get, I think the controller would record local sounds, but nowadays, like, yeah, it's really good to record wind noise or record something on the ground and then take out the treble, increase the bass to kind of make it distant and then like lower, like doing a little bit of sound design for drone shots, but everything else is recorded in camera as is, as much as possible
Okay.
for my stuff.
All right. I like authentic. Getting authentic.
Yeah.
I like that.
And it's easy too, right? I don't have to do anything if I just record it and upload it like that. I try to make things easy for myself.
Right. No, no, for sure. For sure. Um,
People think it's like genius or something, but it's like, no, like if I just record simple tripod shots of me walking, I just cut off the part where I walk back to the tripod and then I just upload that. It's very easy.
right.
Yeah.
And simple's good. You just got me thinking about the whole re-recording thing. Like we put out a video back in January and I had to re-record some stuff for sure. And I mean ours is it's a lot of audio. I'll just say that. And so that was challenging. Like
Like
recreating.
re-recording a podcast episode.
No, like re-recording a video, our documentary we put out. We had to re-record some scenes, and this one kind of spanned a number of years, and so you don't always know what you're gonna need, obviously, like years down the road, and then anyway, or what's important. I don't know. You probably think about that, like, oh, you did a trip, and you're like, oh, I should have gotten that shot, or I missed that, or something, right? Like that was cooler than I thought it would be. Do you remember that?
Yeah, the weather, the clouds, the sun, the rain, that's the biggest thing that I'm battling, because you have a picture of a place in your mind. You look and usually see the best images of what the place looks like, and you want that, and you try your best to hit the right month, the right forecast, but you might not always get it. So, yeah, people who make hiking videos and watch them, yeah, like just getting lucky with the weather is so huge. It's huge.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
And like I've gone on hikes and kind of started and then delayed. I've gone on hikes like my Hong Kong one. I actually just left the trail halfway through and like was in hotels for 3 days waiting for the weather to clear, and then went back to the same spot and pretended like I never got off trail. Sometimes I'll curate and kind of bend the truth a little bit just to get better light. Because if the context of the trail and why you're doing it and the story is there, but the quality of the light isn't, it's not the end of the world. But at the end of the day, I'm making a video, like not really out there to just enjoy myself and have a beautiful time. It's like, yeah, I'm trying to make this a full-time job, and the video should be the best version of what I could do. So
the best version. I like that. Yeah. And it's I mean you're hitting on the story, you're hitting on like what's going to be appealing to the viewer for whatever reason the viewers are coming to that particular story. So that's interesting. But
there is story and hardship, though. I will say, like, I go back and forth sometimes. Like, should I just keep going and recording even if I get rained all 5 days of the hike? Like,
right.
Is that authenticity and that hardship more interesting than having like a beautiful picturesque 5 days? I don't know. It depends. But it's not fun taking rain, so I don't want to do that.
Yeah, and then you can also jack up your equipment that way too. But
yeah, just turn everything black and white. That would fix the whole video, right? Just black and white. Sad hiking in the rain shots.
That's right. Wah wah. The last time we filmed a story, I just tell my buddy, I was like, all right, look, if I'm having a hard time, if I'm suffering, if I'm struggling, that's when you turn the camera on. I said, if I'm like in pain or like I need to get like emergency evacuated, obviously like you don't need to film that part. Like this is a dangerous moment. But anything less than that, I think turn the like you mentioned, the kind of capturing the authenticity of like the suffering. Like I'm like, turn it on. I'll probably be annoyed at you at the time, but I'll be super appreciative after the fact. So that's kind of like our rule of thumb. But yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah. I try to do that as much as possible, but you're right. There are some situations where me not recording definitely illustrates how dangerous and how, messed up the spot was for me. Right. One was hiking Mount Whitney in the
really
before permitting. It's AKA when there's lots of snow. Okay. I thought I could go down an ice chute, skip the whole zigzag down with the switchbacks. That was super dangerous. It took me probably 3 hours to do what would have taken an hour to go down, just because I got into a dicey, really steep, ice chute that I had to really take care of because I didn't have a ice axe. Yeah.
Okay. And what he's talking about is, so Mount Whitney's the highest mountain in California. It's like 14.5, and you get to like the base of it, and then there's like 99 switchbacks to get to the ridge. And when you get to the ridge, you're still 2.5 miles from the top, but 99 switchbacks is a lot. And depending upon when you go, it can be definitely loaded up with snow. There's also, there's a way around from the top of the mountain called the Mountaineers Route, where, is that the chute that you took down? Is that what you're talking about?
No, there's just a nice, clean, smooth chute off to the side of the 99 switchbacks, which looked more appetizing from the top. Than once you get into it, it's like, oh, this is actually really icy and dangerous. Yeah,
right. Because I've almost flown off the edge of Mount Whitney before, so I know exactly what you're talking about. Just going down some icy stuff.
Yeah. had a fun time, but I ripped my pants and I stopped filming, and I thought I might actually hurt myself, but
Okay.
I took my time and had to talk to myself a bit at that point, because when you're hiking alone and you get into a dicey situation, I don't know if you'd like if anyone ever does this, but like I have to calm myself down and to like, Craig, you can do this, like pump myself up. Yeah. It's not great. Like if anyone was like out there watching me do it, which yeah.
No, I did the same thing. I've gotten into a spot where like I probably should have died in Yosemite, and I had to like logically process through like what's the way out, right? Like how do we get out of the situation? So
Yeah. It's odd, but talking to yourself I think does help. Yeah.
right. Kind of calms the situation down. That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you already kind of build yourself as like, well, it's just kind of gotten to hiking. But if you look at your inventory of movies, you've been on epic backpacking trips. I know you haven't done the three big trails in America, but you've done some amazing trips. And so I like just from the length of time you've been out there, I want to pull from some of that experience and knowledge. And so, okay, so the first question I got for you is like, what's the strangest experience or the oddest encounter you've ever had on the trail?
Catalina Island off of California's coast is an odd place because there's bison, and they were left there, I think, after a movie or something.
Correct.
But there's a bunch of them, and I thought they would be chill, but they're actually kind of terrifying. And if one of them senses that you're a danger, they kind of all form up on you.
Right.
And I had a situation where I was hiking and I could have gone around, but I kind of tried to go through two little groups and they came at me. So I had to retreat.
Wait, so they're like on other sides of the trail almost. You're gonna like kind of go through the middle, cut through.
Thought there was enough room, but there wasn't. And they thought I was a threat. So I had a frantic moment towards the end when I was like just looking for any rock or any hard thing that I could dive behind if I needed
Right.
to. But luckily they didn't stampede me. But I've seen videos of people legit hiding in bear boxes on that trail because the bison entered the camp. So I'm
I've
glad
not heard of
bison, came near my tent or camp or anything. But
Okay.
that's like I've seen bears. I've been toe to toe with moose. These bison were the scariest things I've ever come across.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Okay. Probably my own ignorance, but when I got married, we had our bachelor party was just a bunch of dudes going camping on Catalina, basically, because I used to live in Southern California. And I was cowboy camping. Did you live there too?
No. I can picture it
I missed
though.
that. Okay.
No, it sounds like a fun time.
Yeah. I'm just like we're not doing anything crazy, but
No,
we're cowboy
Catalina wine
camping.
mixer. Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't even do that. Yeah, it was like no alcohol. It was just dudes playing board games on Catalina, basically. And anyway, yeah, exactly. And so I was cowboy camping, and when I woke up, from about 3 feet away was a bison standing there, and it was by itself. It wasn't like part of the herd, so that was different from your experience.
Looking at
I was like, I didn't freak out. I just kind of like, whatever. But I probably should have been more concerned. And yeah, and so
they got big faces. They're like,
I know
they're bigger than people realize.
they are
Terrified.
So.
Yeah.
Okay, well, and like by coincidence, we're actually going there at the end of next month. That's our next backpacking trip is the Trans Catalina Trail. So
nice. Next month.
I'm not.
Will it be green? Will it be nice?
At the end of the month, it should be. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Have fun with that. Should be good.
Yeah.
Hopefully you can get on a yacht. When you hike that trail, you hike along the coast and you can see all these rich people on yachts. And I was like, I want to be over there.
It's a desperate backpacking trip for sure.
Also, have you gotten onto Monopoly Deal? That game, the card game?
I played it before. Yeah.
Monopoly Deal. I think that's my new hiking jam. Because I
Really?
just bring a single deck. I'm going on some group trips later this year, and I'm definitely going to be like the fun guy at camp. But like, let's play this game. It's so fun.
I love that. Yeah. If you ever found yourself on one of our trips, we are like our go-to game now, I think, is Jeopardy. So yeah, like I my buddy helped make like one of those felt boards that you can kind of wind up, and then we tie it off between trees, and then we have the numbers on these cards where you can kind of peel them off when people, pick their question or pick their topic. And I just ask for topics ahead of time, and I just have like a list of questions like with various values and keep track of the points as we go. So it's like backpacking Jeopardy essentially.
So once you get through all of the questions, it has no replayability, right?
No, and I had that issue because my first time doing it was last year, and so one of the folks who's on the trip was like, "That was so much fun. All right, like next round." I was like, I just asked 30 stinking questions. That's a long time to prep that.
Yeah.
But we'll figure it out. We'll up our game. But yeah, I'm all about the game. So Monopoly Deal, I'll have to try that one too. That's a good suggestion. Okay, well, all right, and then I'm not playing any
Mini chessboard too. Mini chessboard is also good too. I don't know if
Yeah.
you've done that. Because if you lose a piece, you have to find something unique to the trail to like replace a pawn. So like at one point, my brother brought one on a hike in Nepal that we did. It was like a 10-day slog, through the beautiful mountains. Had a fun time, but yeah, we replaced one of the pawns with like a little pebble, and he still has that. And it's just funny because like that's like a tiny little pebble from Nepal. Yeah,
That's
the little things, right? Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's the fun stuff, right? And then you always play with that pebble. And you're like, this is the Nepal pebble for sure.
And also, if you have a big group on a hike, you need to know who's best at chess or who is best at the game. Like there's the battle, the individual game, and then there's the war. So if you have like a 10-day trek,
Right.
if you lose one or two at the beginning, you need to like, work your way back up the pecking order. Because at the end of the at the end of the trail, no one wanted to play chess anymore. But we definitely know who the best and the worst at chess were.
Right.
I was not high up, I'll be honest.
Okay. So that means people want to play you then, because if they think that you are beatable, they're gonna try.
Yeah. But
Okay.
it's not even. Yeah. There's
All right.
I love hearing the games because like everyone has like weird games that I've never heard of. I've never heard of the Jeopardy thing. That's pretty unique. It's cool.
That was unique for sure. But okay, you mentioned Catan, and we haven't brought Catan backpacking, but we brought games that have like a million pieces like that and try to find a flat spot and put it like on our tent. So our game of choice between my co-host and I, Derek, is Carcassonne. Have you played that one? Okay, that's one. That's one of those like chess type games where it's like you can figure out how to play pretty easily, but then the more you get into it, the more strategies involved. So just tuck that one away. But
it's a balance of like how much junk do you have to bring and how complicated is it? Like there's lots of variables. I tried to bring a frisbee on a trip once, and that was fun for like 5 minutes, and then we were like, enough with the frisbee. I thought it would be a big hit, but it was not. I don't have the frisbee anymore.
We've got a dude who always brings a frisbee, like whether he uses it or not. It's like every time, and then you're bringing up like I feel like our trips are pretty parallel here. The other game that we play too, which is it's made for backpacking because it's like I don't know, it's like less than half a pound. It's backpacking bocce ball with these little like rubber.
Oh yes,
yeah, and that
I like that.
That gets competitive.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's got good replayability with the different terrains. You can have like different golf courses. I like that.
Calling off the tent or over the tree limb or whatever. We do all that stuff for sure. So
good idea.
Okay, that's funny.
Try that.
This is funny we're talking about this because there's not a lot of folks that like outside of bringing like a deck of cards, they don't really invest in playing games in the backcountry. That's awesome that you're like that. That's so cool.
Euchre or like rummy is pretty classic though. The deck.
Yeah, always.
And like these are all the group trips. Like on the group trips, I'm doing usually low mileage days, and we're staying in huts and yurts and whatnot, and having fun and chit chatting. But most of my hikes are solo and have been solo, and those are a different beast. I'm trying to do sun up to sundown, as many miles as I can, getting good footage. Not saying a single word unless I'm getting stampeded by bison trying to talk myself off a cliff.
Right. Right.
So yeah, just two different vibes. And like I've made videos for those two different types. So yeah, if I'm by myself, silent, moody, ambient, cinematic, and then if I'm with a group, like my video will be a bit more fun and talking. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, for sure. For sure. So I like the dichotomy there. Okay, so I love the story of people hiding the bear boxes, but that's just not going to happen for me. Uh, you mentioned like you're like, well, I'm more of a filmmaker that's doing, like kind of generating these stories or these films through backpacking, but you've done some gear stuff. Like you've put some gear videos out there, and I was watching one of them, and one thing that surprised me was you used the Nemo Hornet tent,
Mhm.
and which is a popular tent, but because you've gone to such epic places, one of the knocks on that tent is the wind. And it's very difficult, if not impossible, to set up in extremely windy environments. Have you had this issue, or have you always been able to set up your tent?
Yeah, I just came off of a trek in Chile that had some really crazy wind, and it maybe I was just in a better area, but the tents around me were making a lot more noise than mine. My tent
Okay.
stayed up just because I saw it coming and just hammered the stakes down real hard and made sure to like tighten everything as much as I could. So everything was fine. I would say the Nemo has like the rain cover, the second outer layer is a little higher than like all of the
Oh yeah.
pyramid Z packs and height like all the fancy tents. So I'd say that's the biggest knock for me. Like rain may come in a little bit more than I would like. Um, but I've had one experience where the wind completely KO'd my tent and like bent it over, and that was the Goat Rocks in Oregon, I think.
Okay.
And it was just a bad spot for the tent. I think your placement of the tent is like huge for
Right.
that stuff. Yeah.
Okay. Because
Uh,
well, we were in.
YouTubers try to like put their tent in cinematic spots with like when the
Right.
sun rises, they can just look out and have their like little pour of coffee, and they're like, no, and like that's so unrealistic. Like if I set up my camp, I want to be tucked into like under some trees, quiet somewhere in a little nook. Yeah.
Okay, that's funny. If you have that opportunity, like obviously strategizing is important, but I have the same tent. I'm debating whether or not to bring it on this collegiate peak sleep that we're doing in July, because there is a good chunk that's above tree line. And there was one trip where it was so windy and so exposed, I couldn't physically get it set up. And so I thought,
Mm.
well, wait a second. If Kraig can do it and he's been on all these trips, like I surely should be able to figure this out. Right. So that's why I thought,
Nemo isn't irregular. It's kind of like a teardrop a little bit more so than
right.
this rectangle or square
Right.
ones. So yeah, if you know the wind is coming in one direction, you can kind of angle it so that it splits evenly, I guess. That's what I would recommend. But if like a sail on a ship, if you're going perpendicular to the wind, it might just blow it right over.
No, you're totally right. That's actually really good advice. I can't remember. This is a couple years ago. I can't remember what my strategy was. I think I was just so tired. I was like, just work, and then I just gave up and used it more as like a bivy sack. So, which is
Yeah.
fine. Yeah, but that's
That
good advice for sure.
Also, the Nemo Hornet that I have, they don't sell anymore. So it's awkward making affiliate links because my affiliate links for people to buy like what I recommend is the new version of it. So it's like
Right.
it's weird recommending something I don't even have. But I'm also
Right.
I'm also there are no holes in it. I've been very happy with the Nemo Hornet one person. I might get a new tent just because I want a different looking tent in my videos, which might sound
Right.
like silly, but I kind of want
That's
a
your
different
thing, man.
color. Yeah, I want to mix it up a
Yeah.
little bit. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. What color would you go for? Would you go for something like pops?
Someone was telling me not to get white, but I kind of want a white tent.
Hmm.
I don't
So
know.
the dirt
It's
they
like
shaved?
I've had the bright green this whole time,
Right.
and people with the video in mind want something that stands out, but I don't know. I kind of want to tone it down a little bit. We'll see.
Hmm. Okay. White tent. Trying to think
Like
of a white.
hyper light. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't
Gotcha.
hike with trekking poles, so I'd have to bring one of the actual like pole things.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So it kind of defeats the purpose of the lightweight of using your trekking poles anyway. I wish I could use trekking poles, man.
Right. If they,
I,
it's hard to film and have trekking poles in your hand for sure.
I'm
So,
carrying a tripod and I'm holding my camera. the whole day. So
Right.
sometimes I will unscrew my tripod and use it as like poor man's trekking poles in dicey situations. But yeah,
right. That's interesting. Okay, well, I'll take your advice on the Hornet, and we'll see what happens this summer for sure.
it's a good
Okay,
test.
so yeah, we'll see. Okay, so I kind of build this podcast as like the 3 biggest backpacking mistakes that you've made, and you didn't push back on that when I sent you the outline. So I assume that you were able to come up with something because I think when we see these really high quality movies that are so cinematic and so beautiful, we think, man, like he just had the perfect backpacking trip. But we know that that's like you mentioned before, you had to kind of cut off trail for a while and come back on trail because of weather. Like things don't always go as they seem. And so I thought this could like dig down into like, okay, what's really happening behind the scenes or what are some real challenges you've had? And yeah, so were you able to come up with a couple of those?
Yeah, I am gonna answer it in my own Craig way though.
Okay.
Yeah, my situation is so different because like I'm out there making a video. If I wasn't making videos, if I didn't have the YouTube channel, if I wasn't making money, if I didn't have all these extra weird incentives for me to add on to the hike, I honestly I might be trail running more. I might be doing like day trip trail running things just to like get cover more ground and get more of a like exercise out of it.
Mhm.
But because I am doing the videos, it definitely pushes me to hike more than I would naturally and try harder. Like uh so when it comes to mistakes, for me, it's like a balance of having fun, staying safe, and making a good video. It's like a little triangle.
Right.
Because like I could carry a big pack and have a nice chair and like a ton of great food and like a coffee pour, like all of these nice luxuries, but it would make a heavy pack and that would make me miserable carrying a heavy pack.
Right.
So that's like a balance, a trade-off. And then I could also go super ultra lightweight and like just cold soak and hardly have any weight. Sad soak, I call it. Don't do that
For
to
sure. For
yourself.
sure.
But then that kind of balances out towards the safety. So it's like if you run into a ice storm, are you prepared? Like you went so ultra lightweight, you don't have a puff, so you might, be messed up in that way. But
Right.
then if I don't do my research and I just go on a trail, it might turn out to just be like a, you know, in the eyes of the algorithm of YouTube, a boring trail and no one really cares. If I shoot it in a way that isn't really authentic and kind of like fake, it's just like all these things I'm balancing. So when it comes to like a mistake, for me, it's mostly like, does does the algorithm, does the audience on YouTube care about what I just did? That's more the mistake of what I would say.
Okay.
So Big Bend National Park in Texas,
Mhm.
mistake. I don't know why I went. I'm sure it's beautiful. I'm sure the flora and fauna are unique to that location, and I'm sure on some weekend of some month that I wasn't there, it's a beautiful sunset, but I had a miserable time there. It was boring. It didn't really make a fun video, so that's a
Okay.
mistake in my eyes.
Okay.
Um,
Interesting.
a mistake that I also made was like just traveling to Peru early days. It's kind of hard to get up to this remote northern region outside of Lima. You have to
Mhm.
take an overnight 10-hour bus just to get to this like trailhead city.
Mm.
And I've probably taken that round trip like three or four times now. And
Okay.
sometimes I would just go out there because I didn't know what to hike or shoot that month. And it was kind of a mistake to just spend the money, the flight, spend the time on the bus, be miserable alone, go shoot a video that I kind of my heart wasn't in, and then just be like, oh, okay, well, I'm just gonna come back to the States now. So it's like
Mm.
all of these logistics and all this unnecessary planning, like lack of planning, causes me to make a mistake in that I spent all this time and money and effort to do something that doesn't really matter and I didn't enjoy. So that's a mistake.
Mm.
That's
That's
also
an
YouTube
interesting one.
focused. Yeah.
I think people can identify with that one because I think that sometimes when you kind of get stuck, you're like, okay, I don't really know what to do, where to go. Let's say on like a backpacking trip, and you're like, I guess I'll just do this, or go someplace that's familiar, or go someplace where you're like, okay, and you don't really have a plan, like you're saying, and then as a result, you come away very dissatisfied with the trip. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So
I could see that.
I can't imagine someone who isn't as experienced with hiking and doesn't know how to research or read typography or know how many miles they can do in a day or, forbid like not pack enough food. That would be like a real miserable time. But to go
Right.
do this trail and spend the money, like money that you've been working hard to save and then just like not have a fun time and you're just like not shooting a video, you're just out there to hike. Like, I don't know
Right.
what that would be so difficult to do.
Mm. Well,
Yeah.
our experiences are kind of like what you just described, but then sometimes maybe the time is fine and maybe even the weather's fine, but then some of your companions are not, and they've wrecked the trip for you, and it's,
It's your fault for going with them though. Don't blame them, blame yourself. You should know better.
should you? How do you know if they're gonna be a good companion unless you go with them?
Why are you friends with them if they're not fun?
Oh my gosh. I mean, you've got to know this. Like, you can be friends with somebody and they're great. You put them in an extreme circumstance where now there's a challenge there. Now they're struggling. Now this trip is harder than they're expecting. And when you put, people in tough situations, people don't always respond the way you expect them to, right?
Yeah, that's hilarious. I've never had that situation. But I can
What?
imagine.
You've never had like a bummer, like we call them trip saboteurs. You never had one of those on your trip.
Mm, No, if I go on a trip, it's usually with people. I've had like some slow people, but I kind of know what I'm expecting. But I've never run into a situation where they completely turn into a different person once they face a little bit of adversary. Yeah. Um, yeah. I've
Okay.
hiked with some complete strangers before. That's a little bit of a roll of a dice. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think I've had more success with that than some of the people that we end up planning to go with.
Yeah.
So I don't know. What's your experience with strangers? Are they typically, did that work out? It sounds like it worked out if you haven't had this experience.
Last year, I hit up Henry Golding, who's like a, a movie actor. He was in Crazy Rich Asians and like a GI Joe movie. And we just met up at Yosemite. And, that's kind of a high risk situation, hiking with someone that you've never met before who is also, you know, very valuable time, has very valuable time. But that turned out fine. It was just super hot in Yosemite, so we spent a lot of time in the water.
Oh, I believe it. Yeah.
But yeah, I've hiked with some complete strangers before on group trips, not, and it's been fine. Yeah,
Okay.
because I can also just leave. So
If you,
how they got stick around if it got really bad. Everyone's on their own.
yeah, we're waking up and they're like, there's a one less tent here. Somebody
Craig's
stop
gone.
middle of the night. That's right.
It's gone. He's trying to get he's trying to get a 30-mile day. He's off.
Yeah. To be honest, man, like it sounds like you've had a pretty good run then. If you're not having anything where, like you mentioned, running out of food, anything. I mean, you mentioned, I guess, the moment on Mount Whitney. I don't think you said it. That's a mistake, I guess. That could fit the bill there. But sounds like you've had like we've had all sorts of things. And granted, we started before there were as many resources as there are now. But like when I started brainstorming my own big mistakes, I was thinking like I did the John Muir Trail, years ago, and my rain jacket was just one of those like ponchos you'd bring on like a Jurassic Park the ride, those thin plastic. And I thought I was saving a lot of weight with that and that it would be fine for the rain. But like I could have gotten hypothermia. It's not like bad stuff could have happened. And that was my gear choice. I would count that as one of my top three mistakes. And it doesn't sound like you make those types of mistakes. Is that correct?
I've never worn a poncho, so it makes you cold when it rains. It's not good for.
It's one of those like thin, it's like thinner than a trash bag. It's
Oh.
it's thin, thin, thin because they're just cheap. They're like, single use plastic essentially. And I was like, I'm gonna save this for a backpacking trip. And it's like it's more like an emergency poncho that you use. And because the Sierras are relatively stable with weather, I got away with it. We only had 20 minutes of rain for the couple weeks we were out there. So I was fortunate, but that's not typical. So yeah.
Yeah. Um, mistakes. One time I bought chocolate on a hike in Peru, but it was like the cooking chocolate and it wasn't like the tasty chocolate.
Right.
And I bit into it on camera and put that in the video and tried to play it off. But like everyone in the comments was like, no, that's the wrong chocolate you ate.
That's the wrong one.
Yeah. That one didn't fly. That's a mistake.
Yeah. That's a good one. I like that one. The bad chocolate.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah, a lot of food mistakes, I would say. But I'm getting better with food. That's like one of the biggest areas of improvement over the last 2 years, just like getting more creative with my food. And
Right.
mistake wise, like as long as you have all trails downloaded, like it's so easy to stay on trail. I can't imagine people going on hikes without downloaded maps, but that would be a bad time if you don't do that.
We have a mix. We get the old school and we have the downloaded, and we've been betrayed more by the downloaded, to be honest, because we've had issues where like it doesn't update, like it's not updating. Like so on the map, on the digital map, it's showing us in one spot at one junction, but really we're ahead of it because it hasn't updated and we're at a different junction. And so it's telling us to go right, we should go left, and we just have to be hyper aware essentially. So
I see that on Google Maps, like a weird, like no matter what they do, it's just like not correct. I've never seen that on all trails with a downloaded thing. But yeah, that would be infuriating.
Yeah.
But if you have multiple phones, at least one person's got to have the correct location. So what, like, you didn't get lost, did you?
No, we figured it out. Yeah, you're right though. Theoretically, it should work.
You're here, so you got off.
We made it back. Yeah, but Yosemite Search and Rescue knows us by first name. Like, so we're not.
Dude, knock on wood, I have never bothered anyone with any rescue situation, stuff like that. Man.
Okay. Well, that's a blessing for sure. Like I said, you've had a good run. Sounds like you're just on top of things and you're a really good planner and you do a really good job evaluating who you go with. And that's apparently not a strength of mine now that I'm like matching myself up against your experience. So
Alaska was sketchy though. I will say that was
okay.
Dumb on my end. Did a 100-mile hike in Alaska during COVID. Had a small plane drop me off and pick me up in the wilderness, and got lost a bit because there was like some river flooding. So it kind of messes with the trails a little bit once you have like you're stepping through water, like a swampy area, and got completely lost, kind of trying to find the trail. The downloaded all trails map was like one of those straight line issues, you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, he's
not actual. It's just like, we think this is the trail. Good luck.
Correct.
So yeah, I got lost and then eventually had to cross the biggest water crossing I've ever done. I did not film it. I did, yeah. And it was like spring. So it's like, you know, learning the differences in the seasons with the water is like something that I had to learn the hard way. Did not film any of it. Didn't even put the drone up to like get a hovering shot of me doing it because like I was swimming across a lake or a river, which is super dangerous alone, you know?
Right. That's nerve wracking right there.
Yeah. So that's also a mistake. I've got a lot of mistakes. I just need to like remember them, you know?
Okay.
I try you make me feel a little out of my mind. Okay. Well, I appreciate you only don't broadcast your mistakes. It's like it's like a vulnerable thing to share, I guess. But
it is. But that's what our podcast is all about. Is
like, what are your three biggest? What are the worst?
Yeah. Well, but I mean, that's what we're talking about. We always talk about when we do trip reports on our podcast. It's like, all right, how did I mess up? How did my buddy mess up? And that's what's entertaining, right? Because like we've been doing this stinking forever, and we still make dumb mistakes or forget things or whatever. So that's. You know, it just makes you, I don't know, people can identify with that because people typically don't have the perfect trip. And if all you have is perfect trips, it's probably kind of boring. Like you want to have those interesting stories, right? So that's my take.
I guess for my videos and when I do behind the scenes guides, I do focus on what were the cool spots I found, what was the food I found in different places that was like cultural or fun if I'm internationally hiking. You know, just tracking the all trails and the Strava for each day and sharing that is such a wonderful amount of information for anyone trying to follow in the footsteps to see like the timing, the downtime, the distance I was able to do. Yeah. And then the photos and the locations. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Highlights as well. Obviously, people want to hear that. And that's probably why they go to a lot of your videos is like, I don't know, either they're remembering some of the trips they've done already or they're researching what they want to do in the future. And so that becomes more of an inspiration. So having those highlights is key for sure.
Yeah. It doesn't always happen, but when people make videos on the same trail and like let me know or send me photos after I've done a hike, being like,
Right.
here's that same spot that's from your video. Like I just wanted to share. That feels good. I like that. I like knowing that people, were inspired to make that step because it takes a lot of like money, time, and effort. And it's kind of risky to like bet on I'm going to have a fun time doing this trail. So it makes me happy when people do that.
Okay. Well, I'll try to do that. If I come around a bend and there's a herd of bison and I just have the opportunity to just kind of split them, I'll film that and I'll be like, this is for you.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. All right. Okay, Kraig, I got something called a lightning round where I'm going to give you 1 minute to answer as many questions as you can. I'd say most folks are able to answer about 8. The most we've ever had is 13. And we'll see how many you can get. Just kind of whatever comes to mind. You got 1 minute. Are you up for this?
I'm ready.
What is the toughest trail you've ever done?
Kilimanjaro.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Name one trail you'd actually hike again.
Hornstrandir, Iceland.
What is the worst smell?
Hiking behind 10 PCT hikers.
What is the best energy bar?
Cliff peanut butter.
Nice. Trail mix can't go without
Cashews.
Is time travel possible?
No.
Okay. Who is your favorite celebrity?
Wow. Jumped on the celebrity question. I like wow. I don't know any celebrities.
And time. Okay. I don't know any celebrities. I mean, you went hiking with
Nothing. Usually something comes to mind, but absolutely nothing. I almost said I can't even say her name right. Ana de Armas or whatever. Joy from Blade Runner and she was in John Wick movies, I think, or James Bond. I don't know. That's what came to my mind, but I didn't want to say that.
You just did. It's out there now.
That okay. Beautiful, intelligent, talented actress. Yes.
That's funny. Well, you didn't quite get to my next question, which was, what is your favorite conspiracy theory? Would that have been a better question?
The pigeons? I'm like robots or something, right? I'm in New York. There's a lot of pigeons, so I think about that.
Yeah, that's a good one for sure. Okay, well, thanks for playing along. Okay, all right. We've covered a lot of ground, Greg. What's something we can be looking forward to on your YouTube channel? Upcoming movies, documentaries, videos, whatever you got coming out. What can we look forward to?
Yeah, I just got back from a 2-week trip in Patagonia. So there's going to be 2 videos. The most southern hike in the world. So on the southern tip of South America, like,
Okay.
a stone's throw from Antarctica. That was good. And then another hike north of there that had the 3rd largest glacier in the world. And you get to hike along it for like 15 miles. It's so fun.
Really?
And then, I'm a professional. I've got a whole content schedule mapped out for the year. So I'm going to be hiking the K2 base camp in Pakistan. That's going to be like a 13-day trek. I'm going to be hiking the Altavia 1 in the Dolomites all by myself with huts. So it's going to be like pasta, espressos, and huts. I'm going to be doing the Hout route with a group of 12 other people of subscribers in Switzerland. And all
Okay.
3 of those are boom, boom, boom back to each other. And then I'll be back in Nepal in December for a solo hike that I'm really looking forward to. And that's like where the dogs like kind of follow you on treks. So I'm really hoping I might place some like dog treats in my pack somewhere so that I can attract the dogs to follow because it's way more fun.
Wait,
Yeah.
the dogs follow you in Nepal?
Yeah. Yeah. There's tons of dogs on the mountain trails and they just like follow trekkers up and
Oh,
down.
I've been to Nepal. And maybe I didn't make the mountain trails. We were hiking into like remote villages after their earthquake back in 2015, and we were like delivering supplies. But that must have been too low of like what elevation are you going to? You're talking about these dogs.
Like 13, 14,000 feet.
Yeah, it's way higher than we were. Okay, I got to get up to the. Are they friendly dogs?
Yeah. They were cute and friendly.
Okay, gotcha. Wow.
Yeah.
All right. So all that to say, a lot. You got a lot of epic adventures coming up that we can look forward to. I don't know how you do it. Like if I'm planning a trip and then I've got a couple trips past that are on the the radar or the horizon, like trying to get all these details narrowed down is challenging for me. But yours are like super intense remote trips or at the far ends of the earth. And so whatever you're doing or your structure, man, is working for you. So well done, and congrats on everything you've accomplished so far. And thanks for, building into the backpacking and outdoor community and inspiring us to go on these epic adventures.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm treating it like a full-time job. I've got nothing else to do. I'm basically only working when I travel and I get home and edit as quickly as I can
Right.
to get a video out, and then I'm already planning the next one. So that's
love
why it appears as a hustle, but I'm just doing my job.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for chatting. This is fun, kicking it.
Yeah.
Talk about board games on trail and stuff. Yeah,
That's
let's
right.
go.
That's right. All right, man. It's been a pleasure. And yeah, thanks for being on the show. All right. So you didn't make this one, but you had a chance to listen to it. So what'd you think? React. What you got?
Yeah. So my first thing was, you guys were talking about backpacking the PCT Appalachian Trail. Do you believe you're a real hiker backpacking if you don't hike the PCT or Appalachian or a long trail?
Like a real one or a legit one or?
Yeah. Well, you kind of
Yeah.
answered it. You both kind of were like, "Hey, we don't hike." You threw it in that you believe you're a real hiker because you hike and backpack. But do you believe you're a real backpacker if you don't do any through hikes like the PCT and Appalachian Trail?
I mean, that's a pretty narrow measuring stick if that's what it is, right? Like you have to do what's the measuring stick? You have to go over 1,000 miles or 2,000 miles. Like that's a pretty narrow measuring stick. Like I've done a through hike, but even if I hadn't, I still think I'm a real backpacker. I think it's what is it? It's 99% of all backpackers out there aren't going to do those major hikes. They're not going to hike over 1,000 miles one shot. And who has the time for this, man? It's like the people that are just out of college.
Yeah.
The people that are, empty nesters, or it's the people that like never have kids or don't get married. That's kind of your 3 big groups, right?
Right. So then the question is, how many miles do you think you have to put in before you're like a real backpacker that you'd consider yourself?
Well, by Derek's standards, it's like if you can do 2 miles a day, I think that qualifies, right?
2 miles. I thought you were gonna be like, well, if you can wear a backpack around Costco, I think that's a real backpacker.
That's so cool. If you can work at the grocery store and not get tired, that's the measuring stick. I don't think that I just think that if you can do an overnight trip and last, I don't know. The idea of like a real backpacker is weird, right? Like who are we to judge? I don't know. It's if you feel like you can make it and go overnight, then success. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you gotta get a couple trips under your belt to be considered real. Like the first one, you're just figuring it out. Second one, you're like, all right, I changed some things. And by the third one, you should feel comfortable. So I think by the third one, you'd consider yourself a real backpacker. But I don't know if I'd ever consider like being a real backpacker unless you're just going out like every weekend, doing tons of trips. But even then, like, it's like you like to backpack. I don't know if I'd ever be like, yeah, I'm a backpacker unless I'm doing it for like money and all the time. So
unless you're doing it for money, what?
Well, like got our own YouTube channel. That's all we do is backpack,
That's a,
backpack,
no,
backpack.
okay. Now you're talking about professional backpacker, right? People who get paid to
Yeah.
go backpacking.
Right.
And spoiler alert, a lot of the YouTubers, not the ones that necessarily that we have on, but a lot of YouTubers don't even go backpacking all that much. They just like get gear, go to their backyard, test it out. I mean, we just had Devin on last week, and he's talking about how he's testing his gear out in his living room. So
Quite
he
the
actually
wilderness
does
there.
go backpacking. So he's not one of
Yeah.
the people that doesn't go backpacking, but you get my point. So I don't know. Like, I think you're lumping a lot of different groups here. I think that
I probably
if you
am.
really want
Yeah.
some sort of measuring stick, I feel like if you can plan your own trip, you're not just like latching on to a guided trip or like a buddy who's planning it for you, but you can actually plan it out and then execute it. I feel like that's a success, right? That's a measuring stick right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. That's what I mean. That's when I think you're a backpacker, more or less, is, when you got your own trip and you're planning it and you're doing it and get, 3 under your belt. So yeah.
Yeah.
All
That's
right.
an interesting question,
Next.
though. Yeah, I guess yeah, that did come up. You're right. So that's different than my first reaction. So my first reaction was, and I kind of alluded to this when I was chatting with him, but when we first popped on, we typically chat with our guests for like a few minutes beforehand, and he was like super nice. He was very different than most people we talk to. Most people we talk to, it's like, they just go, like they just
Yeah.
talk. I don't know how to say it, because they realize like the light is shining on them. He was very like inquisitive and asked really good questions, but I don't think
Nice.
I made a good first impression, because when I sent him the outline for this episode, I was asking all these backpacking questions because he's been to all these amazing places, but he told me like out the gate, he's like, yeah, I don't know about these questions. I'm more of a filmmaker who happens to backpack than vice versa. And so I like cut out a ton of questions that I was going to ask him, because I just I wanted to be sensitive to his thought process on that. So I don't know. I don't know if he enjoyed the conversation. I think he did in the end, but yeah, I think I did not have a good first impression.
Interesting. So he wouldn't consider himself a real backpacker.
I don't think so. Even though he knows his stuff. He's done a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Interesting.
So yeah. Anyway. Okay. Any other reactions?
Yeah, I got a couple more. So the next one is, would you ever adopt being a silent hiker?
Adopt it? What does that mean?
Like, would you ever consider being a silent hiker?
Do you think he's a silent hiker?
He said he is. He's a silent filmmaker. He makes the film.
I mean, he's filming it, and he's not. There's no dialogue, right? He's just filming this.
Oh,
cinematic.
Carl, it's just a joke.
Stuff.
It's just a joke. I was just trying to get you to just be quiet on trails at times, but yeah, you went over your head.
You did go over my head, because I'm like, I thought you were trying to see could you do what he does, basically? And I was like, no, I don't think so.
I was just trying to ask you if you'd ever just consider being quiet on the trail.
Aren't you like 10 times more loud than me? What are you talking about?
I don't know. I think I'm quiet. I like nature. But it depends. We usually hike with groups, and so they always want to talk to us and get to know us. And I like to get to know people too. So it's a different thing. Yeah. But sometimes it's nice just being quiet. But it was just a joke, Carl. Just a joke.
Okay, sorry. I wrecked it. But yeah. But it doesn't make sense, because you're the loud one. That's what I'm saying. Is you're like, well, no, you're always talking. You're the guy that's always chatting. But you're very gregarious. But I feel like you're talking 10 times more than I am. Like 10 times more.
Wow. So, quieter.
Yeah.
I think I'm quieter. All right.
Okay. I'll pay attention next time.
All
right. What? Okay. What do you think about? So I did. This is my first lightning round without you, and I guess no, I did a couple with Derek too, but he didn't really understand the lightning round. So
yeah,
I stumped him with a question about his favorite celebrity. Like, I've just straight up stumped him. We've never stumped somebody in the lightning round. Like, we've gotten them to pause.
Yeah.
Was that a inappropriate question, or what do you think?
I don't think so. Was he embarrassed by his celebrity? Or was he just or do you think he just doesn't watch TV?
I mean, but it could be anybody. Like, a celebrity could be somebody who's on TV. It could be a movie person. Right. It could be a sports person. It could be a YouTuber, right?
Right. Do you think it was you? You think he was just embarrassed to say that you're his celebrity?
He's like, I don't want to say, but I really like your podcast. I think I stumped him. I don't think, maybe he doesn't. I don't know. Like, I think I would stump myself with that question too. And I was reflecting upon it. I'm not way into, I don't have posters on my wall of anybody. I don't wear jerseys with names on the back, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you have a
Who's
favorite
your favorite
celebrity?
celebrity? Oh,
I don't have. I don't think I have one. I think I'd sent myself. Maybe that's what I was asking. Is a fair question.
I think it changes. Like as you get older, like you realize that celebrities are just people, and so you're not like, oh my gosh, if I met this guy, like I totally just like, oh, But I think there's people out there as celebrities that you'd want to meet and just have a conversation with. But yeah, I think
Kinda.
even now, I'm not sure who I would say would be my favorite celebrity that I go out of my way. Probably Bear Grylls. He's probably my favorite.
Okay. Yeah, it'd have to be somebody that was very like I could see Bear being a good one, but like so for years back in the day, every year we went on our July trip, we invited a like pseudo celebrity. Not any like big time celebrity, but like a pseudo celebrity. So for example, one of them was Mike from American Pickers. So he's big time on the History Channel, but and people might recognize him, but I don't know that he's like a big celebrity. And we do it just for fun. And then just a little while ago, I had this like indirect connection with Peyton Manning. And I was like, oh, I should invite Peyton Manning on a backpacking trip. Like we're the same age and like what's he really doing besides just like silly TV stuff, right? And then I thought about it and I was like, would I really want him on the backpacking trip? Wouldn't he just like dominate the trip and just like everybody's just trying to impress him or like I just thought it'd be like really weird and uncomfortable and create an odd dynamic. And I was like, I wouldn't want to do that. Not that he would come, but I wouldn't want to do that. So that was my take. What do you think?
I think if you invited him, you're more worried that he'd get more attention than you on the trip.
I don't get a lot of attention. What are you talking about? People don't pay attention to me.
I've seen interviews with him and he's very just bland. Like he's not doesn't come off charismatic. So I think for me, I think it would be a weird, awkward trip because he went.
Oh yeah. It'd be awkward, but he's type A, like he's like the sheriff. He's like the man in charge. Right. And so, but he wouldn't be. And so be this. Yeah, you're right. It would be an odd dynamic.
Yeah. And then, I mean, what would happen is if he goes to poop in the woods, like would people go after it to like, just see what he does or what?
That's
like,
gross.
I mean, it's
now
just
you're
weird.
going down you're taking this down the wrong road. All right. All this to say, like, thanks again to Kraig Adams for hopping on the show and really appreciate it. And if you want to check out his stuff, we got his link in the show description. So check it out. We got these crazy reviews for some crazy gear. At least my gear's crazy. Coming up right after this. The trail is calling your name. Are you ready? Are you really ready? Our good friend Roan from Summit Strength can get you trail ready. Roan uses rock solid evidence to design a specialized training program just for you. There are plenty of cookie cutter programs out there that will get you only halfway up the mountain. Make it to your adventure summit with Summit Strength. The link to your success is always in our episode description, but you can check out all the information you need at summitstrength.com.au/online. It's time to be strong and pain-free for your next adventure. Ben, is this your first review?
No, I've reviewed. What did I review? I had another review. I can't remember what it was. The Teton.
Oh, you had the Teton stuff. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And
cool. All right. So what do you got? What did you get a hold of that relates to us as backpackers? What do you got?
So I got the La Sportiva Prodigio Pro running shoe. I forget it's Italian.
Trail running shoe.
It's Italian. Yeah.
Yeah. It is
there
Italian.
It is. Yeah. Okay. Pull up the weight because that's always what I forget to pull up. So if you're watching on YouTube, you can see the beautiful shoe that I am reviewing. There's the guy holding it.
We'll just talk about it and I'll go through some of the stuff here.
So I got the shoe and I liked it. I put it on and I'm not used to the, like, it's almost, I know it's cliche, but walking on a cloud, like, and maybe it's just because I'm heavier and I don't know if it's made for, 200-pound plus people, but it sinks in when you walk because it's that cushion, so there's a lot of cushion on it. So I really like that aspect of it. I think it's made more kind of like the Morel shoes where it's more barefoot. I have high arches, and so I put my insert in that I wear, and it really was a comfortable shoe. So fit really
It's
well.
not
I wear a
okay.
size.
If you look at the
yeah.
stack height on it, it's not barefoot. It's literally the opposite.
I know,
of that, right?
but I'm saying like, but it felt like it. It was similar to like kind of the barefoot, I think, but where
But
it kind of just doesn't
barefoot,
conform
you're
as much.
doing
Yeah.
the opposite of walking on clouds. Like I don't know
Right.
that you know barefoot's like minimalist shoe where there's not much between your foot and the ground. That's barefoot.
Right. No, and I'm saying, but it fits like that. Like it didn't support my arch. It was more like wearing a barefoot shoe where it really didn't support the arch much, but it was
Okay.
very comfortable. Very comfortable. Seemed lightweight. And yeah, overall good experience. True to fit. So wear a size 11 at Cam, and it fit perfectly as a size 11. So if you're looking online to get a good running shoe, a little bit expensive, but you get what you pay for with this shoe. Order your size that you're normally get, and I think you'll be happy.
Okay. I'm gonna help you out here, but so you got if you look at the bottom of the shoe right here, so okay, so it's got very aggressive lugs on the bottom, so it's meant for trail.
Yeah.
It's pretty firm. So people are using this to put in quite a few miles. So this would be definitely a trail shoe that you can use. And then Ben, you were asking about the weight. It's 1 pound, about 1 pound 2 ounces for the pair, which is actually on the lighter side for a trail shoe, especially with those aggressive lugs. Heel to toe drop is 6 millimeters, which is kind of like mid-range, I'd say. And let's see here. What other details would I want to know? Yeah, you mentioned true to size, which I think that's what they're billing it as. And then they've got, it's got a pretty big stack height. I would call this more of like a maximal shoe almost because of how much like cushioning it has in the midsole.
Yeah.
And it's got almost like this sock. How would you describe it? It's like got this like sock shoe fit above.
Yeah, they have laces just to get it a little tighter, but it more is just like you slip it on and you can tighten it a little bit. But yeah, it's more I do like that aspect of shoes rather than having like the tongue flapping around and getting out there.
It gets really good reviews. But yeah, I think the one knock on it is the price tag at $195. That's a pretty steep price tag, right?
Pretty steep, yeah.
Yeah. So, but that being said, like I want to say if you're looking for comparable shoes like the Hokas and the Speed Goats, like those are I think 150, 160 now, and those things are great and they're super comfortable. I love them, but they do not last. So I'm curious after you put more miles on this, like how this will hold up. So you have to let us know.
I will. Yeah, I'm gonna add more miles to it, so I'll keep you updated.
All right.
What do you got for your review?
Okay, so I mentioned that I have the most. How did I build it? Like the most comfortable, most ridiculous, awesome pad. Okay, I've got it right here. I just got it. It's made by Xped. If you can see how big this thing is.
It's about its size. If you can't hear Carl, he's holding it because he was away from the microphone, but it's about the size of Carl. This pack.
It's about half the size of me for sure. So this is called the Mega Mat Duo Sleeping Pad. This is not for backpacking. Although if you did bring it backpacking, I would be so impressed. I'd be so impressed. And this is okay. So this is going to be one of the most like just the luxury high-end camping pads ever. So if you have friends or a spouse that you're just having a hard time getting out there, one of the biggest complaints they have, aside from being scared of like what's outside the tent, is getting good sleep. And so what a lot of people do is they bring those air mattresses that have like the built-in pumps that you plug in, and they bring those backpacking thinking that's, or not backpacking, they bring it camping thinking that's a solution. And it is not. They're going to get terrible sleep because that has those have zero R value. They're going to get like frozen out there. I've had buddies that have done that, and they've brought their wife, and then their wife is like, I got the worst sleep. And you think that you wouldn't because of how thick and padded it is. So with this Xped Mega Mat Duo is, well, first of all, it's double wide, so you can both sleep on it. But this is a pad that's essentially the same thing as that, but it doesn't have the built-in pump. You can actually buy the pump separately. But it's the same thing as that, but it has an R value of 8.1. 8.1 R value. Yeah, so you're going to get amazing sleep. It self-inflates, and it's got 4-inch pad thickness. It's got, let's see, it comes like as big as queen size if you really want to invest.
I was only laughing because as Carl's scrolling, so if you're watching on YouTube, as he's scrolling, it shows the massive tent you need to put this air mattress in. Air mattress.
Oh yeah, it's for car camping, man. It's not.
No, I know.
It's not meant for back. I mean, you could bring it backpacking, I suppose, but yeah, it is. And so anyway, they have an updated version this year where they have like handles on the side, kind of like a real like Queen mattress does. They're like doing the eco-friendly thing with their materials. And yeah, I just think that this is a solution if you're looking to get somebody out there. Now, this is on the more expensive side as well. So they range for the Duo, they range from $370 to $520. Oh my goodness, right? But if you do a lot of camping, then this is an option. And they come in all sizes. Like you can get them for cheaper than that. They also have some that fit like truck beds and things like that like go around the wheel wells. So check out. So Xped's like really upping their game with the not only the pads, but they've got some sleeping bags we'll be talking about later on this season. And so I think Xped is it could be a solution to your camping problems. What do you think, Ben?
Yeah, definitely for camping. It looks comfortable, thick. Our value is nice because my wife tends to get cold while we camp. And so that getting her up off the ground and comfortable, I mean, you guys know it is if you get someone that's uncomfortable, didn't sleep well, it can really not make a fun trip, even backpacking or car camping. So
sure.
you want to be able to enjoy your trip. So if it helps, it's worth it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. All right. So check it out. We'll have links in the show description. And last thing I have is, if you are looking to get more content from Backpacking Blisters, we have bonus episodes. We got 3 bonus episodes about trip planning we've put out this year. Our third one came out this month. We've got Patreon trips. We've got archived episodes. We've got latest episodes, all ad-free coming your way. Please consider joining the Patreon family. Ben, you got anything else?
No, just remember, if you're not making mistakes, you're not really backpacking.
All right, everybody, have a great weekend. God bless.